who was the first person, the first queer person that you can remember seeing in the media, and that could be TV, magazines, film, and then who was the first black or queer person of color that you can remember seeing, if they're not the same?
Bitch, honey, first person came to my motherfucking mind is somebody we didn't already discuss, Miss Cookie Tookie Samantha James on Jerry Springer, bitch.
What? I have never seen that. I
You never seen
haven't.
her Jerry Springer clip?
No.
Miss Thing was cunt even before the seal, honey, and you could still tell it's her.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely the girls being on Jerry Springer sticks out to me. The girls being on what was that, Maury, when he would do that problematic he or she shit. Um, yeah, those were some of my first representations that I can recall. RuPaul. Um, yeah. I'd always my icons are always black. I grew up in a multi-ethnic family, but when it came to anything entertainment, we went to black people for that.
How did it impact you seeing them, good or bad or indifferent? Like anybody that you are just mentioned.
Good and bad. Um, Seeing the girls be so misrepresented when I was growing up is what made me have so many questions about my own identity. I was under the impression that I was going to have a SRS or had bottom surgery in order to be a trans woman. Um, you know, I was under the impression that men would never accept me fully because I was a trans woman. Um, or not just men, but people in general. I was under the impression that I was always that if I transitioned, I was transitioning into a freak. Excuse me. So those were some of the bad things, but the obvious good things were that other people like me existed and they excelled and they used this femininity to their advantage and they accepted it. You know. So that was the good and the bad. Growing up, had I had influences like, the Laverne Cox and the Janet Mox and I'm drawing a blank, but all of the girls that are out now, the Mama Majors, and had I knew who those girls were or
Mm-hmm.
those women, those icons were when I was growing up, um, I would have probably came out a lot earlier. I would probably had a lot less questions.
Mm.
As trans, I would probably came out as trans a lot earlier and had a lot less questions.
So have you resolved any of those things? Like, so what are what are your thoughts on how do you feel about the SRS?
It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. I I have a prediction that if we continue going in the route that we're going with the social awareness about gender and the spectrum, I think that bottom surgery for trans people will become less common. Just because I think that, and I'm somebody who doesn't experience bottom dysphoria, never have. And that was another reason why, and that was the main reason why I questioned my transition. I thought you had to hate your genitals in order to be trans. I thought you had to feel like you were born in the wrong body in order to be trans. I don't feel like I was born in the wrong body. I feel like I was born with society having the wrong perception of gender. Um, I don't hate my genitals. I don't hate my body the way that it is. Of course, I'm down to change things, but I think that that's just because we live in a superficial society where plastic surgery is so readily available.
Yeah, for everybody.
Thank you. And especially with the idea of me potentially becoming a public figure, um, there will be a lot of times where I will be competing with other girls because of the way that I look, and that's not the part that I'm signing up for. But Bitch, give it to me. Because I'm going to make these girls have to eat it. You got to be a confident bitch to compete with me, regardless of how you look.
Regardless.
Mm-hmm.
A doll does what a doll does.
But yeah, I am, and another, honestly, the reason why I feel compelled to put myself out there, to put my voice and my faith out there, is because I have come to a point of self actualization when it comes to my transition. I am very comfortable. I have resolved a lot of those issues. I genuinely just love who I am, and I view my transness as a superpower because it's something that most humans will never understand and will never experience. I am truly able, if from nothing more than a spiritual and social standpoint, I've been able to see the world being perceived as male and female.
And that's the beauty of it. You can see through those two different perspectives because it's very two different vast perspectives. Like even sometimes now, me doing the work and doing the effort and to understanding people and just gender and things like that, I
Hmm.
have to check myself. I have to check myself when I'm speaking because I still can speak from a toxic masculinity place because of
Hmm.
that's what I've known and that's and it might be something slight because I really am an open minded person.
We
Like
don't.
because I didn't have the language like I said like I'm fluid for real and I didn't even know what that was like I came out and it's crazy because a lot of people are like oh we came out as how you come out as bi to kind of soften the blow and I was like I thought I was bi but I didn't think I would be accepted because it was kind of a thing like people didn't consider bi people real. It was just like you being greedy or something like
Hmm.
something trivial like that.
Hmm.
So I didn't have the language for it. So now I working through all of that, unlearning all of that different stuff. Like I know I'm fluid. I know I'm attracted to trans people. I'm attracted to people. So I'm attracted to you. I'm attracted to
It
you.
depends on the person for
It
me.
depends on the person. And if you got like a little something I like, yeah. And it
Hmm.
ain't gonna be just anybody or it ain't gonna be anybody and everybody. But if they're trans,
And
they're
that's
trans.
the common misconception too. But I think for somebody who does base all of their attractions on the way that somebody looks and physical features, they won't be able to understand people like us, and it just is what it is.
No, because you can want me till the cows come home, and we can even do it, and that be that. But
Hmm. If the
we might,
chemistry ain't there, if the vibe
yeah,
ain't there,
yeah.
bye.
It's very bi. It's very much bi. So
Mm.
yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm always interested in hear who people first queer person of color is. RuPaul has got. I can't even think of the number of people that I asked, and RuPaul has been one of the people. But it's interesting also to say because everybody put like you are the first person that said those girls on Mari. So I never even thought about that. Just anybody and everybody can be impacted by somebody queer in whichever space they're in. I never really
Mm.
thought about it like, ooh, even Mari, because I can remember those shows, but not like being impacted from it because it wasn't for me. I mean, I wasn't,
Mm.
I wasn't thinking about my gender identity at that time, and I
Mm.
never really have. And I noticed that is a privilege in itself, not to even have to worry about it. Like knowing who you are is kind of a strong thing. And once you figure, that's why when you finally figured out, nobody can tell you shit.
Mhm. Mhm. I feel like my spirit tells me that Prince and Luther were my first queer of color influences, but from a young age I always thought that they were, and it was just something that people didn't talk about.
I
But
thought that too.
as I got older and realizing that they didn't identify with those things, I can't put them in those categories.